We're facing an opposition willing to use totalitarian methods to get their way, and you see it. Think of what the Democrats and their deep state allies have been caught doing. They spied on my campaign. So, we have a reason to be angry, folks. We have a reason to be angry. They spied on my campaign. And I said it 2 years ago. I said it 2.5, 3 years ago. But now it's come out. They spied on my campaign. If this were reversed, you would have had people in jail for years already. Years. They defrauded the FISA court. The FISA court is highly respected. They totally defrauded the FISA court. They concealed exculpatory evidence. They knew a few days into the Russian witch hunt that it was nothing. It didn't exist.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we take a look at the latest new Q post. Bombshells, as usual. Q is laying down exactly why Nancy Pelosi is withholding the articles of impeachment from the Senate. And we get a very, very specific look at who one of the Q might be. And this is coming directly from Q, telling us exactly who's in the Oval Office with President Trump, showing them how to post on the boards as Q+. You guys are not going to believe this, so stick around and check it out. Hi, my name is Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. You guys know the drill. I start by saying thank you if you've hit the subscribe button. If you haven't done it yet, come here, click the big red subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified as soon as these videos get posted. Obviously, we are picking up right where we left off. We left off at Q post 3739. We're picking up at Q post 3740. And there's a lot of information in here that you guys are going to want to stick around to hear, especially the way Q basically breaks down why Nancy Pelosi is withholding the articles of impeachment from moving into the Senate. And we're going to take a look at a few different examples of Q explaining to us why that's happening. Plus, we're going to get an inside look at President Trump posting to the Q boards. Mainstream media is never going to show you this, but we're going to talk about it here on the boards. So, look, we have a big episode to get into. So I hope you guys stick around and get ready for that. But before we get going, I remind you all, look, there is a content suppression algorithm, but it is actively happening. There's a content suppression algorithm. So you guys have to fight it by hitting that share button and sharing this with anyone you can, and letting YouTube, Google, Facebook, Twitter know that we know they are the authoritarian fascists trying to shut down free speech in this country. And it's disgusting. It's despicable. And these people are gonna, in my opinion, eventually get what's coming to them legally and lawfully, let's just say. So with that in mind, I always like to remind everybody also, this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. If you guys want to help support the channel and download a free product that's amazing, go down to the link and download the Brave Browser. It's basically just like any other internet browser. It's like Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, but it's better. It blocks ads. It makes your internet experience that much better. And it just makes it easier to use the internet. Plus, it's got a built-in VPN and Tor browser. Did I mention it's free? Yeah, it's free. So go download it. And when you use the link in the description of this video to download the Brave Browser, they'll actually make a contribution to this channel. So it's a form of helping the channel as well. So with that in mind, let's get into the latest video here. First of all, we have this post from Q starting at 3740. And it starts with this Twitter post from this Woke Society's Twitter handle. And here's the actual tweet. It says, Q called this back in July, news broke today. Now, what is it pointing to? It's pointing to Q post 3389, where Q told us back in July that Admiral Rogers was meeting with the Attorney General and John Durham. It says, why did Rogers retire? Why did Rogers visit POTUS at Trump Tower without authorization shortly after a SCIF was installed? Why did select former ABC directors call for the removal of Rogers? Why did POTUS move his transition command center base of operations from Trump Tower the very next day? Q. So never forget this. Admiral Rogers found out that they were abusing the FISA surveillance systems to illegally spy on American citizens associated with President Donald Trump's campaign, then candidate Donald Trump's campaign at the time. And as soon as President Trump won that election, it took a few days for them to set up a SCIF in Trump Tower. And what happened shortly thereafter? As soon as the SCIF was set up in Trump Tower, Admiral Rogers went to see President Trump without any permission to say, look, they're spying on you. They're tapping all the phones here. They have warrants on so-and-so, and they're actually inside your system. And I would say that this actually goes more toward the fact that Obama had illegally, according to the reporting by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones at theamericanreport.org, that Obama administration with Brennan and Clapper had tasked a security analyst by the name of Dennis Montgomery with weaponizing this super secret surveillance system called the Hammer, which was implemented at Fort Washington in Maryland, right? And they were using that illegally to spy on their political adversaries for blackmail and leverage, according to multiple reports, right? Allegedly. So think about that. And then the very next day, President Trump leaves Trump Tower and goes to Bedford, New Jersey, where his Bedminster, I'm not sure which one, I think Bedminster, New Jersey, to his golf course and sets up his new center of operation, base of operations, never to return to Trump Tower. And we've talked about that before, but that is what Q is pointing to here. And of course, Anon points this story out that we talked about in yesterday's video with the former NSA director cooperating with the probe of the Trump-Russia investigation. Now, his cooperation is integral to exposing the fact that the Obama administration and the intelligence community were illegally spying on President Trump and trying to set him up and setting up this coup that we're seeing right now. The whole Russia hoax, the whole Ukraine hoax, all the whistleblowers, all the intelligence community leakers and liars. These people tried to set up our president who we elected, and now they're trying to remove him illegally, unlawfully, and we're having to stand up for it. So they're trying to destroy our country, and we're trying to set our country on the path back toward freedom, back toward sovereignty, back toward everything that made this country great in the first place, right? So that's exactly where we're at. Q says something big is coming after that post, then gives us this post right here. President Donald Trump saying it unequivocally. The Democrats and crooked Hillary Clinton paid for and provided a fake dossier with phony information gotten from foreign sources, pushed it to the corrupt media and dirty cops, and have now been caught. They spied on my campaign, then tried to cover it up just like Watergate, but bigger. Now, why in the world is every news agency in the world not running with this story? Because they're complicit in the criminal activities of the people who are plotting the coup against President Trump, because they are ran and controlled by the same globalist cabal, the globalist factions that President Trump says he'll never sell out America to, the same globalist cabal that wants to basically remove our sovereignty and replace it with some global sovereign that they can put in global taxation with and control systems. And that's what we are standing in opposition to, because I don't know about you, but I don't want my country to turn into communist China. And I don't want the communist Chinese having a say in my freedoms. And this is really getting to the point where at what point does it become a threat to our safety and security when the President of the United States, who I trust more than I trust any of these crooked politicians, the President of the United States, who I elected with my votes, with our votes, we elected, we the people, at what point does it become a threat to our safety and security for these liars to continue to push their authoritarian garbage against us, right? And try to cover up the crimes of these people who are trying to overthrow our government? At what point does it become an actual threat to our safety and security? They don't care. They're going to keep pushing forward with this. Q says, do people really think this can happen with no consequences? FISA equals start. Nobody is above the law. Not anymore. Q. That's a perfect way of explaining it, right? They keep saying, the Democrats keep saying, nobody's above the law. Well, you know what? Everyone was above the law before President Trump got in office. At least if you're a Democrat politician and you wanted to sell secrets to China, or you wanted your son to go get $1.5 billion for a hedge fund investment from the Chinese communists, or you want to put a special access program information on an illegal server that was easily hacked by the Chinese and other foreign, intelligence services, not to mention the fact that you set up a foundation where you're funneling hundreds of millions of dollars in from all these foreign countries. I mean, this is on its face, prima facie, it is treason. And there's no way you can get around it, right? And the Democrats keep saying nobody's above the law. Well, yeah, not anymore. Let's just say that. The next post here says, Why are the two articles being held by Pelosi? Will holding actually impact the decision of the Senate? No. Will holding actually provide a better scenario, public opinion, to Democrats? No. Will holding actually sway select senators to change their vote? No. When blackmail and threats no longer work? That's what Q says. Why are the two articles being held by Pelosi? What happens when the articles of impeachment are sent from the House to the Senate? Can the Senate conduct other business during this time? No. What value might exist by holding the articles? How long do Senate impeachment trials normally take? What statements have been made regarding timing? Think fast tracking. What statements have been made by Chairman Graham regarding Senate, FISA hearings, and witnesses? Why is Pelosi holding the two articles of impeachment? Q. So think about this. The House of Representatives voted all those corrupt people. I'm gonna put a list of their names on my wall. I'll never forget every single one of these traitorous, treasonous, corrupt politicians who voted to impeach a president for nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. There were no laws broken, no crimes committed, but they still voted to impeach him because they're being either pressured and forced through blackmail and leverage by their own party, or they're corrupt criminals who are trying to cover their own you-know-whats. Because you know what? I've said it before and I'll say it again. These people who are going after the president are really going after we, the American people, and they are so sick and twisted in their heads that they would rather destroy this country than see justice, than allow themselves to see justice for their crimes. And you know what? That's fine, because legally and lawfully, we will have our day in court and we will have our justice. But they've done everything they can to subvert the system, to undermine its intent, and to use it and weaponize it against we, the people, and President Trump, our president, who we support. Call me crazy. I support the president more than I support all of these crazy politicians who are lying every single day, bold-faced lying to my face and your face. I don't believe it. I don't believe it anymore. So what are they doing, though? They're withholding the articles for what purpose? It's simple. Because if the Senate starts doing the FISA declassification and having investigations into all of this criminal corruption by the Obama administration, the intelligence community under the Obama administration, all these leave behind intelligence players who are just coming forward and supposedly blowing the whistle, when in reality, they're just lying to set up the president for a crime he never committed, right? And to frame him in the court of public opinion as being some Russian agent. First it was a Russian agent, now it's a Ukrainian agent, when in reality, that's what they're most guilty of. Uranium One, Clinton Foundation, selling all of our uranium to the Russians. Hunter Biden getting millions of dollars from Burisma, the most corrupt company in Ukraine. I don't see Donald Trump Jr. sitting on the board of any foreign national, foreign NGO companies, energy companies. I don't see it. But I do see it on the Democrat side. So as soon as that hits, right, as soon as the Senate starts going after those criminals, then Nancy Pelosi goes, here's the articles of impeachment. What does that do? That brings all of it to a grinding halt and pushes the impeachment to the front of the queue, thereby eliminating any ability for the Senate to go after these criminals who betrayed our country, while at the same time stalling before the 2020 election, where I'm sure they're going to pull every trick in the book out to try to, because you already have big tech here meddling in the 2020 election, so the corrupt politicians are going to meddle in the 2020 election. When I say meddle, I'm not talking about some made up 10 Russian bots, posting on Facebook. I'm talking about real election meddling. We're talking about lying to the American people, deceiving the American people, weaponizing the intelligence community, weaponizing their positions, breaking their oaths of office, and trying to overthrow a duly elected president, and then to undermine our democratic elections here in this country. It's disgusting. Yeah, that was a lot, I know. The next one here is M2 Madness. Here's the actual post. I want to play this video for you guys, and then we'll talk about it.
Comey said last week he was sorry. It was sloppy. No, Comey, it wasn't sloppy. It was criminal. I'm going to call every person who signed the warrant application. I'm going to find out why Brennan went to Harry Reid in September of 2016 to talk about the investigation. I'm going to find out why it took 2 years for Mueller to realize there was no there. We're going to look long and hard at FISA abuse. We're going to pass laws to make sure this never happens again. Accountability will only be successful if somebody gets fired, and I'm looking at Christopher Wray to fire somebody at the FBI, and somebody needs to go to jail, and I'm looking at Durham to hold people criminally accountable for the laws they broke.
Well, you make a good point. And we've got a graphic here that shows everybody who signed those warrants. And you're saying each of these people you're going to call down to testify. That includes, obviously, James Comey signed the warrant 3 times. Sally Yates signed it once. Yeah. You had Andrew McCabe, his deputy, signing it. Do we have that graphic? Sally Yates as well. All of those people you say you are going to call to testify as you continue to do this deep dive into what took place in 2016.
Yeah, there's 2 questions I want to ask these people. When you signed the warrant application, how much time did you spend trying to figure out if it was actually true? And how far up the chain did this go? Did President Obama know about the counterintelligence surveillance of the Trump campaign? Did Vice President Biden know? How much information was provided to Susan Rice? I want to know how far up the chain the investigation went. I want to know why so many people could sign a warrant application so flawed. So there's a lot of questions. I want to make sure this never happens again. To the American people, you deserve better than this. Every American should be worried about FISA. And to this impeachment debacle, to my Democratic colleagues, impeachment is a dead cat. Stop playing with it.
So then there you go. Q goes on. Like, you saw what Lindsey Graham was saying there. He said impeachment's a dead cat. He explained he's going to call all these criminals in front of Congress to make them explain why they were abusing the FISA court, why they were trying to undermine President Trump. And so what's their only option? They hold on to the articles of impeachment and use that as their next blockade to keep the American people from seeing the truth. Q says it perfectly. Why is Pelosi holding the 2 articles of impeachment? How do you introduce the truth about what happened to the public? What value might exist by attempting to block public testimony hearings? Would educating the public through the Senate prior to Barr, Durham, Huber releases be important? Narratives are created and pushed to prevent the public from discovering the truth. Enemy of the people, Q. Think about this. Q's just explaining that they're using the articles of impeachment now as their weapon to blockade the American people from finding out the truth before Barr and Attorney General Barr, John Durham, and John Huber's investigations finish, right? Why? Because those investigations are going to lead to high-level arrests, and they don't want the American people to see it coming. They want the American people to be blindsided. Why? Because then it'll cause civil unrest, and that will help them be able to hide their, skewed messaging in the President Trump's just going after more of his political rivals. He went after Biden, now he's going after all of these other people. No, these people are criminal traitors, allegedly, who need to be brought to justice, right? In my opinion, legally and lawfully. So let's just watch the next one here because it gets even better. So this is Kevin McCarthy. Let's hear him and his take here. It says the FBI broke into President Trump's campaign, spied on him, then tried to cover it up. This is modern day Watergate.
Well, if you pause for one moment and you read this IG report by Horowitz, here's the FBI. They broke into President Trump at the time, candidate Trump's campaign, spied on him, and then they covered it up. It is a modern-day Watergate. And you've got Democrats who aren't willing to even look into that. That is the area that we should be looking at. It's a modern-day coup, the closest this country's ever came to, but the only way you can compare this to is Watergate. They broke into his campaign by bringing people into it. They have been trying to cover it up for the whole time. Now the question rises, just like Watergate. Who knew, when did they know it, and how high did this go up?
So there you heard the Senate GOP, or the GOP leader here in the House of Representatives, Kevin McCarthy, saying basically it's not just Watergate, it's a modern day coup. It's the closest thing this country's ever come to it. And the question really is, how many of these criminals, does it go all the way up to Obama? Was he the one pushing this, and was he the one orchestrating it? And I think the answer may actually end up being yes, a resounding yes, especially if you look at the evidence surrounding everything that's happened. But that's what Q points us to. Now, the next 2 are just a couple graphics here. First of all, Q points out this graphic. It's Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Elijah Cummings, and Representative Jerry Nadler. And they says, haven't you figured it out yet? It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption, about their illegal spying on President Trump, them pushing this whole Russia hoax, them involved in pay-for-play scams for days with all of these foreign countries. That's what it's all about. So keep that in mind. The next one here says, Spygate, never has a president left office to collude with others to impede the next sitting president of the United States of America until Obama. And you see here, there's McCabe, Comey, Clapper, and Brennan, all Obama's henchmen. They are the ones who have been pushing this soft coup behind the scenes, and they're trying to overthrow a duly elected president. It's disgusting. The next one here is Senator Ted Cruz, and it says, in case you missed it, Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Futures, the IG's FISA report is a stunning indictment of the politicization of the Justice Department FBI during Obama administration. Here you go. I'm going to play this for you.
Really, what was a blockbuster IG report. Yeah. What struck you most?
Well, the Inspector General report is a stunning indictment of the politicization of the Obama Department of Justice and the FBI. The Inspector General report details 17 specific, serious misrepresentations DOJ and the FBI made to the FISA court. By the way, the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, was appointed by Barack Obama. And I'll give you the most stunning example the Inspector General uncovered. A senior lawyer at the FBI fabricated evidence. And here's what happened. So Carter Page is an outside advisor to the Trump campaign. He also is periodically talking to Russians, including some sketchy Russians. And so the FBI wants to get a wiretap on him. Now, an obvious question if you have someone talking to sketchy Russians is, well, are they working for the CIA? Because that's a very different inference. If someone's working for the CIA, then talking to sketchy Russians isn't that surprising.
Well,
the CIA,
he's doing his job. For the CIA.
Right.
Yeah.
So the FBI sends an email to the CIA. It says, hey, is this guy a source for you? The CIA emails back, and they say, yes, he's a source. The FBI Assistant General Counsel takes that email, and he alters it. He types in the words. So CIA said, yes, he's a source. The FBI lawyer types in, no, he is not a source.
Unbelievable.
180 degrees, exactly opposite. He then sends that email on to the Department of Justice that uses that as the basis for a sworn statement to the FISA court to get a wiretap. By the way, the Inspector General report also talks about so let me just say,
that's unbelievable.
For the IG to have found this, you want to talk about good investigating. I mean, they dug through the original documents, and someone on the IG team noticed the original email from CIA, the forwarded email, and compared and said, wait a second, these words aren't in the first one. Tell you what the IG report says. When they questioned this Assistant General Counsel at the FBI, they said, hey, how did this email change? He initially denied it. He said, oh, I don't know how it changed, no idea. And then they pressed him, then he's like, yeah, okay, I changed it. That is on its face criminal conduct. If you or I did it in a car wreck case, if you got in a car wreck and you were in court and you doctored fraudulent documents and submitted it to the court, you or I would serve jail time for that. That's senior leadership at the FBI. That's how badly they wanted to spy on Donald Trump and get Donald Trump. It is a horrifying abuse of power.
It's horrifying. Do you think people will go to jail?
Yes, I very much hope so. In this instance, this individual has been referred for criminal prosecution. I was encouraged by the statements that both Attorney General Bill Barr and U.S. Attorney John Durham put out, that they're continuing to investigate, that there's substantially more here. This was spying on the Republican nominee to be president. They sent in multiple confidential human sources wearing wires.
All before July 16, when they claimed the FBI counterintelligence investigation began.
And, you know, I used to be under George W. Bush. I was an associate deputy attorney general. I spent 5.5 years as Solicitor General of Texas. I've spent a lot of time in law enforcement. I got to say, in any ordinary law enforcement, any responsible leadership, if someone had come in and said, hey, let's wiretap and spy on Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or John Kerry, it's possible, if there was a mountain of evidence and serious criminality, that you would end up approving that. But you better believe you would cross every T and dot every I, and you would press and say, all right, what's the evidence for it? What's the basis? Because you know it would get checked. One of the things that's so offensive, it's clear these guys assumed Hillary would win which would mean there'd be no accountability at all. They could get away with this because no one would check.
While the Trump investigation was going on, there was another investigation going on into Hillary Clinton's emails. 33,000 emails gone. She used bleach bit and a hammer to get rid of her devices. I mean, if that's not obstruction, I don't know what is. And it was the same person, Peter Strzok, who was running the FBI investigation into Trump and running the investigation into Hillary Clinton. And we haven't heard anything about HRC.
One of the worst legacies of the Obama administration is the corruption of law enforcement and the intelligence community. And by the way, the big unanswered question is how high up the chain did this go? We know that the deputy director of the FBI, McCabe, was read in and authorized this. We know the director of the FBI, James Comey, was read in and authorized this. Did the Attorney General, did Loretta Lynch sign off on spying on the Trump campaign in the middle of the election? Did the National Security Advisor at the White House? Did Barack Obama? Did Joe Biden? I got to tell you, in most administrations, if you're launching an investigation on a major political figure like the Republican nominee for president, your opponent, they would be read in. Nobody's asking those questions about whether Barack Obama and Joe Biden personally signed off on spying on and surveilling their political opponents. Not a single Democrat in the House cares about the answer to any of this. It's beyond crickets. You cannot ask about abuse of power or investigation. That's wrong.
And yet here.
So what Ted Cruz is saying there is 100% accurate. First of all, they were so sloppy in the way they tried to set up President Trump, they didn't even go back and try to cover up the fact that they basically lied on multiple documents and lied about how the whole investigation got started. But then further, nobody wants to investigate Hillary Clinton and the email server and the fact that everybody just turned a blind eye to that, and that Peter Strzok, the same guy trying to set up President Trump and lying in his position in the FBI as a top investigator, he's the one handling the Hillary Clinton case. So he's the one going after President Trump, texting Lisa Page, the other top lawyer at the FBI, saying, hey, we're going to have an insurance policy. I hate Trump, blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing, excuse me. And now nobody wants to go into it. And you know what? The most telling thing he said there was exactly what Q has told us from the beginning. They never thought she would lose. That's how criminally corrupt these people are. And that's all Q gives us there. Finally, here's an interesting one. So an Anon says, toying with the enemy, don't get smug. Q responds, and when you finish typing, just sign it Q+. And this is a picture of President Trump with Dan Scavino, one of his top advisors. Who is Dan Scavino, you ask? Well, Dan Scavino is the assistant to the president and director of social media at the White House. And obviously, he's been on my radar and everyone else's radar as being a part of the Q from day one. We all know the mainstream media won't talk about it, but Q's saying here, whoever it is, whether it's Scavino or whoever, the Anon's saying, don't get smug. And Q's like, who cares? We'll show you exactly what we're doing. This is a picture of President Trump. And I heard people, reverse image search this, and they couldn't find it on the internet, meaning it might be like an original picture, but it might exist somewhere else. But here it is. Here's Dan Scavino on his laptop with President Trump, probably on the 8kun board, posting his and helping President Trump to post his Q+, to tell the American people the truth and not mislead them and push them toward the fake news liars who are in bed with the satanic cabal of globalists who want to overthrow the sovereignty of this nation and want to destroy it, not only from within, but from outside, from every direction. And as President Trump said, we talked about this in the last video, the opposition, the Democrats, are engaged in open war against our democracy. Those are President Trump's words, not mine, but it's true nonetheless. So, mainstream media, here you are. We're showing you what we're doing. Do you want to cover this or talk about it? No. Oh, no, because then that would wake up too many people. Oh, I see. But they're going to continue to try to silence us, through these algorithms that suppress and through, calling us crazy conspiracy theorists and saying we're racists and all of these different disgusting things that we're not. We're just patriots who love our country, who want equality of justice for the criminals who have tried to overthrow it. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode of Just Informed Talk. Remember, you guys can help out by watching these videos and sharing them on your social media, getting the word out that way, hitting the subscribe button, and leaving your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about all of it. Also, I'm over here on Twitter at JustInformYou. It's a great way to connect outside the platform. You know, keep building up all these other platforms, because you never know what these big tech fascist authoritarians are going to do as far as silencing dissent and just removing content that they, you know, just want to get rid of. If they don't like your voice, they don't like your opinion, they will digitally deplatform you and remove you from the discussion, taking away all of your basic constitutional freedoms and rights because they decide that you're persona non grata. So support the channel over here on Twitter. Also, come find me over here on BitChute. Another way, bitchute.com/justinformedtalk. You can subscribe over here. It's a great backup channel for the channel. Also, I have justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to the Q stuff, different news sites, breaking news, and of course, the latest from the channel as well. So that's justinformednews.com. Also, you can help out the channel by coming over here and finding me on Patreon. Link will be in the description, patreon.com/justinformedtalk. You guys, it's a monthly donation. You are what keep this channel alive. You set it and forget it. You know, you're helping create content on this channel. I've told you before, you know, they demonetize everything I make. It happened a while ago, back in July, after the Huffington Post attacked my channel with their fake news stories about how I'm a liar. So, you know, that is where it all kind of started. But you guys have been supporting it from day one. They've been trying to shut it down for way before July. So you guys have kept it going. I appreciate your help and support. It's a monthly donation, and you guys keep this channel going. I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything will be in the description now. Before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, I want to focus on Psalm 15, because we've talked about a portrait of sinners. Now, that's Psalm 14, where it basically tells us how, you know, the sinners see the world and how we as children of God have to really be aware of that. But I want to read this to you, because this is a description of the godly. And this is Psalm 15, and I want to share these words with you. It says, "Lord, who can dwell in your tent? Who can live on your holy mountain? The one who lives honestly, practices righteousness, and acknowledges the truth in his heart, who does not slander with his tongue, who does not harm his friend or discredit his neighbor, who despises the one rejected by the Lord, but honors those who fear the Lord, who keep his word, whatever the cost," or who keeps his word, whatever the cost. And that was verses 1-4, by the way. I want to share those words because that's what we have to focus on. Righteousness, keeping our word, not slandering with our tongues, not engaging in the same things that the devil tries to push onto us and through the evil that exists all around us in this world. I pray to God every night, every day, multiple times a day with my family. We just pray that we have the courage and strength and wisdom to be the most humble servant we can be for God. And I hope that you guys take that prayer and use it for yourselves as well. And remember that we are called by God to despise the one rejected by the Lord. You know who that is, the devil. But honor those who fear the Lord, who keeps his word, whatever the cost. So that's my message to you. Just be honorable, have integrity, be righteous, live a good life, be humble, be strong, be courageous for the Lord. That's what we're calling you to do. That's what God calls us to do. And that's my message to you. Share that with your family, friends, and loved ones. And I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. And remember that we don't celebrate Christmas to celebrate Santa or gifts or materialism. We celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior. And that's the greatest gift of all. And our eternal salvation is the gift that is greater than any other gift, and that's what we need to keep our eyes focused on. So remember that going into this holiday season. It's not about what you get or what you give. It's about how you embrace the life of Christ and the sacrifice made on the cross for our sins so that we may have eternal salvation in heaven. But that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Come here, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Hit it, punch it, tap it, headbutt it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.